two sisters known for the happiness they spread.
After she broke up with him, she had her sister come and help her move her things out of the house that they shared together. What she should have done was contact law enforcement and ask them to come and supervise the move out. Unfortunately, instead, 3 people and a dog are now dead.
This is pretty much a domestic situation that ended in a tragedy.
My name is April Hardy. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, of sexual abuse, intimate partner homicide threats, emotional abuse, etc. And I feel like it's my mission to be a voice for people who aren't able to be a voice for themselves, particularly women who have been murdered at the hands of their significant others or their exes, because that's a real threat that I've had to live with for a long time. Today's story hits me particularly hard because it could be anyone. There's so many things that are consistent in all of these different people's stories with everybody else that deals with these things. But this woman broke up with her boyfriend. She obviously felt like there was something there, and as we'll talk about later, there was, and she was aware of something. So she had her sister come and help her move out. It is extremely common, if you feel like maybe you shouldn't be doing something by yourself, for people to get a friend or a family member to help them get their stuff or exchange things or whatever. And then it is not uncommon for those people to die with that person that is leaving that relationship. In this case, the smartest decision that they could make legally would have been to involve law enforcement and have them just be there and supervise. It could have all been avoided. But people don't think about that, and if they do think about that, it sounds embarrassing. And I get that, but it's well worth it to be a little bit embarrassed, to be able to avoid a situation like this. At about 10:26 a.m. on Saturday, the 911 call came in. There was a woman on the phone. The dispatcher said that she could hear screaming in the background and then what sounded like gunshots. Now police believe that it was Jessica Joiner, age 30, who was the one making that 911 call. Officers who raced to the scene found Jessica Joiner and her sister Jessica Escott Joiner, 34, both deceased outside of the house.
They pulled up with a U-Haul, a rented U-Haul, and a car, and at some point a disturbance took place. And Mr. Cobb shot both females. We believe they were both shot either in the head or the neck region. And he also shot a family dog.
The home was where Jamie had been living with Adam Cobb, age 32, before she had recently broken up with him. Jessica had flown in from California to help her sister get her things out of the house. I'd be really curious to know why they believe that an argument ensued. Maybe that's just their way of trying to rationalize why something like that would happen. With domestic violence dynamics the way that they are, though, there didn't need to be an argument. It could have just been that he was being left, he was losing control, he didn't want to lose that control, so this is sort of an abuser's temper tantrum. If I can't have it, nobody else will either. And then he shot them, as well as the pit bull, Jada, that Jamie loved so much. There didn't need to be some kind of an altercation. Police speculate that there was an altercation. I don't know if there's evidence that would suggest that, or like I said, if they just don't understand control and ownership dynamics. Cobb obviously believed that he owned Jamie enough that it was okay for him to kill her, and her dog, and her sister. Law enforcement initially believed that he was held up inside of the house, but when they got there, he had actually fled. The state police put out a bulletin about 45 minutes after that initial call showing who Cobb was and that he was wanted for murder. At around 1 p.m., the Illinois state troopers spotted him. A car chase happened.
Nearly 45 minutes later, the suspect's vehicle became partially disabled north of Pana, Illinois. That's about an hour and a half from Madison County. Investigators said the man then jumped out of the car and pointed a gun in the direction of an Illinois state trooper. The trooper, a 26-year veteran, fired at the suspect, who was taken to a hospital with life-threatening injuries. No law enforcement officers were hurt.
So he wasn't dead when he went to the hospital, sent to the hospital with critical life-threatening injuries, and ended up passing away at 4:40, I believe, the next morning. What was described as a large caliber gun was found with Cobb, is what the report said.
At this time, both the Madison County Sheriff's Office and Illinois State Police are continuing separate investigations into the incident, which will include doing ballistics tests on the gun that was found in Cobb's car, which at this time they believe to be the murder weapon.
Connor said that there was no way to know which of the sisters was shot first because there were no witnesses.
Investigators say he may have taken with him the only true account of what took place.
No, this is awful.
Meanwhile, neighbors like Crouch are still trying to piece together how a man who could help them so much could take the lives of two women.
I still can't get over it.
This really frustrates me also. It's super not uncommon, which frustrates me so much. But the sheriff's office reportedly had no records of domestic violence involving Cobb before the murder. In fact, Connor said there were no previous calls to that house that we're aware of. I don't believe there was any criminal history or warning. And one of the things that puts victims in so much danger is a lack of consistency and availability of information. We should be able to know when there have been protection orders against somebody before. We should be able to know if they have a criminal history that is violent. And in my experience personally, I've noticed that not even law enforcement from one agency to another necessarily has all of that information together, let alone common people, non-law enforcement, women who end up getting with these guys don't have access to that information. Likewise, in this case, the media was able to uncover criminal records that say otherwise. Now, it said there was multiple traffic violations stuff between 2006 and now, and you could consider that just for a disregard of the law. Maybe, obviously, that's not super pertinent to this, but just as far as complete picture, so there's that element. But a search of Madison County court records shows that Cobb had had 2 protection orders against him that were eventually dropped. In 2018, a woman filed a protection order against him claiming that after a business disagreement, he had harassed her family, including following them and taking pictures of her 14-year-old daughter. Apparently, within the paperwork of that, she said he has an extremely bad temper. We have seen him scream and cuss over the smallest things. That order of protection was dismissed after the woman failed to appear in court for it, and then Cobb had weapons returned to him according to the court documents. So, order of protection. Specifically, the reason that the order of protection didn't stick was because she didn't show up, not because they weren't going to grant it. And why did she not show up? Was she threatened into not showing up? That would make a lot of sense. I have no idea, total speculation, but I feel like somebody that is trying to pursue a protection order not showing up for court is more sketchy than valid reason to not do it. And he had weapons, which were returned to him because she didn't show up, which would have put her in more danger. And then there was another protection order that I don't have information on specifically. Public records show that he had previously owned 2 different businesses. The lawn care business, Green Cuts LLC, was involuntarily dissolved by the Illinois Secretary of State in December of 2020. So that speaks to character probably also. I'm a business owner. I have had issues. So I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but it's something to consider. He had 2 businesses previously. That he's smart, but at least one of them was taken away, not by his own regard. Could speak to character. Neighbor Renee Crouch said that she believed he also worked recently at a local water company. She did also. So they worked together. Apparently she had lived in South St. Louis County and moved there to move in with Cobb. It was interesting to me, Beth Williams, Jamie's best friend, said, I knew he was mentally disturbed from talking to Jamie, but I didn't think that it was in that way. When she was talking about leaving, he would threaten to hurt himself or take Jada, the dog. So, even if law enforcement didn't have pre-warning signs that this was potentially dangerous situation, Jamie did. If you know what warning signs to look for, the fact that he was threatening to hurt himself is a manipulation tactic. It's an abuse tactic. The fact that he was threatening to take her dog is not like taking a piece of paper from you just because they're trying to be a pain in the butt. Jamie loved this dog, and he was threatening to take from her what he knew was important to her, what he knew that she loved. If she was to leave him and take what was important to him, that's retaliatory. Both of those say he's not okay or accepting of her breaking up with him. Those are big warning signs. And he had weapons. That's also a big warning sign. Those together, mixed with the stressor of a breakup, that is a recipe for disaster, obviously. And just knowing those things, not even knowing that he had had previous anger things, previous protection orders, those would have been enough to say this is a situation where law enforcement needs to be involved when I move out. Days before her death, Jamie told her best friend Bethany Williams, I want my own place. I want to be able to have as many dogs as I want, and I want somewhere with no one there to say no.
She didn't want to waste any more time on toxic relationship, and she wanted better for herself the way she wants for everyone else. And yeah, so she just tried to get out.
She had spoken with Jamie about her plans to move out in the days before she moved out. I asked her, do you need help? Are you going to tell him? I don't think you should tell him, she said. But Jamie had had a previous bad relationship where Williams had helped her move out and didn't want to put her through that again, so that saved her life.
She stood up for herself, and she was gonna get out and do what she wanted to do.
Williams said that Jamie had been pre-approved to buy a home and was going to stay with family while she searched for a place. She wanted to get out and get on with her life. She wanted to start a family and move forward. Now that won't happen.
She was very selfless. She was a giver. She liked to give.
No matter who it was or what the situation was, she wanted to help. She wanted to be there. She just wanted to lend a hand, lend an ear. She was so caring. Jamie passionately loved dogs. She spent her time at the pool, helping take care of Cobb's 11-year-old daughter, and working an administrative job at a local water company. Jamie was the type of person who loved other people's birthdays. She would go above and beyond to throw parties. She would even have a big party for Jada.
She would put raincoats and boots and outfits. She would throw the most epic birthday party for a dog.
Jamie was close with her sister Jessica, who moved to Colorado several years ago and was married. Jessica worked at a community center, according to her social media pages. The sister's family released a statement on Monday. There are no words to convey the immense loss of two of the kindest, most humble and loving daughters, wives, granddaughters, nieces, sisters, cousins, friends, etc. we've ever known. The family is working through arrangements, and more information regarding celebrations of life in both St. Louis and Los Angeles will be forthcoming.
Very much the free-spirited, very happy, very grounded, very loving. They both were just very happy people.
Rest in peace, Jamie and Jessica, and Jada. Likewise, neighbors of Cobb's expressed being blown away by the situation, like they always do. Ben Sharp, who lives next door to Crouch, said of Cobb that you couldn't ask for a better neighbor. He helped everybody all the time. I still can't get over it, said Renee Crouch. He lives about a mile from Cobb's home, and said he often cut her grass. Everybody in the neighborhood knows how great he was. He helped everybody all the time. I still can't get over it.
You can't put together who did that and who used to come here. You can't put it together.
There is proof yet again that you can't know what goes on behind closed doors by the way that they treat other people. Generally speaking, abusers, they control within their home. They don't show that stuff outside of their home a lot. If you're concerned for your life, if you feel like your partner could hurt you, please reach out. Call the domestic violence hotline. They have resources. They can help work with you to get you out. If you are concerned, if you feel like you're in danger, you are. Those feelings don't come out of nowhere. In this case, Jamie's friend described this over and over again as a toxic relationship. But it's almost like people would prefer to call it a toxic relationship versus abuse. Because There's some shame if you're an abuse victim. But if you were just part of a toxic relationship that's outside of you, it's not who you are. And the reality is, being a victim of domestic violence, it's not who you are. It's still something somebody else is doing to you. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're pathetic. It does not mean that it's something you need to be ashamed of. And please do not let those things keep you from reaching out and getting out. Jamie seems like a wonderful person. Jessica seems like a wonderful person and a great sister that she's going to fly from another state so that she can come and help her sister move out. I am so sorry for their loss. Jamie obviously knew that something wasn't okay. Her friend knew that something wasn't okay. Dude's mentally unstable. He has weapons. He's made threats. All of those things, if you know what to look for, point very strongly to potential for this situation to happen. If you have anything remotely like that, please, please, please involve law enforcement. Involve people that are trained on domestic violence. Don't go looking for somebody with toxic relationships. Search out domestic violence resources, because that is what that is. Even if they have never laid a hand on you, it's still domestic violence. If there has been emotional abuse, it's still potentially dangerous. If there's mental health stuff, if there is drug or alcohol abuse stuff, if there are weapons in the home, especially guns. I am an advocate for gun ownership when it's the right person, when there aren't mental health issues that become a problem, when it's not an addict, but with the fact that he has had protection orders before, even if they didn't stick, there was so much gray area here for people because they didn't have all the information. And it pointed to this. It's not a surprise to me. His neighbors are surprised. I'm not surprised because I deal with this stuff. I so much. Please get the information. Please share it with other people. I had 2 more situations where people, I think they were both shot, that I'm gonna have my assistant do news stuff for. And another woman in another country that came up on my thing that her husband had cheated on her, been cheating on her, got another woman pregnant, decided that he was going to divorce his wife and get with this other woman and start a new life with her. So they'd separated, but he knew where his wife was, and for whatever reason, he came to the house where she was. Their son let him in because it's his dad, and he walked over to the desk where she was and slit her throat, right there with the kid there. And then he left and went and drank some weed poison or something like that and killed himself as soon as he left there. Like, for what? There is a never-ending supply of stories of women and men, but women is primarily what we talk about on here, who die because of their husbands, their boyfriends, or their exes, or somebody who wanted to date them that they told no. I want to change that so much. Help me save 1, 5, 10, as many as we can. Please share this. Share the channel. Each of the videos have different red flags. Some of them have a whole list of red flags. Most of them, I just highlight the ones that I can see in that particular situation. And I want to do this forever, you guys. And it is so hard. It's hard to know that I could have been one of these people. I could still be one of these people. There's no guarantee that mine are not going to come back. Because in my experience, they come back.
Northbound 51 from Doeville Road. 51 from Doeville Road. Speeds are
251 northbound Doeville Road, 102 miles per hour.
Don't fucking move! Don't do it! Don't! Put it down! God damn it! Put it down! Put it down! Don't do it! Don't do it! Don't! Stop! Stop! Put it down! Put it down! Put it! Don't! Put damn it!
18 home location.